It's game week, Seminole fans. Finally, after a couple unexpected weeks off, the Seminoles are back in action, and so are the Nole insiders. Lane Hurt and Tim Linefelt here with you, high atop Doak Campbell Stadium. We'll begin with what Jimbo Fisher had to say at his Monday press conference. I asked him, a lot of times teams get better between week 1 and week 2. They see a big leap in what they can do. Asked him, is that still the case? And he kind of said, not sure, because he's never been in this situation. It's unprecedented, and that's kind of the way things seem right now.
Yeah, it's really weird, and it's one of the real compelling storylines around this game against NC State that again, I'll believe it when I see it, just because of the way things are sort of aligned. I don't know about you, but I'm going on Twitter and I'm looking up tracks for what do we got? Jose and Maria, and I'm sure there's some other ones too. I'm like, steer clear. We need a game here. But yeah, it's just such an unusual situation. I don't think it's bad in any sense, but the question is, what is Florida State going to look like on Saturday? Are they going to be really sharp because they've had 3 weeks of practice and so much time to get ready for this game? Are they going to be a little rusty because they've only played one game this season, and that was 3 weeks ago? We just don't know. Whether or not that affects the outcome of the game, I tend to think that it won't in one way or the other. I think after a little while, maybe a quarter at the most, maybe a half, things will settle down. It'll probably just look like a football game, and it'll play out the way that those things normally do. But whether or not this is going to be seen as a tangible benefit or a tangible disadvantage for Florida State is one of the things I'm really interested in, because, like Jimbo said, you just don't know. In fact, I felt really good to hear him say that, because I have no idea either. So if he doesn't, that makes me feel a little good to know that, hey, man, nobody knows what to expect. And when's the last time you went into a Florida State game with that kind of feeling?
You're right about that, Tim, and while we don't have much else to say about the Seminoles until we really see them again, we can talk a little bit about their opponent, NC State. Let's start offensively. The guy they have that really is a matchup nightmare, that's Jalen Samuels. As we talked to Derwin James last week, he said he reminds him of the offensive version of Derwin. Yeah. Jimbo liked that too. He just said he's a football player.
Yeah, exactly right. I think, I don't know exactly this year, I think last year his official position was fullback, but like Derwin James, just to simply call Derwin James a safety would be misleading. To simply call Jalen Samuels a fullback would be misleading. You're right, he kind of is that. He can play running back, fullback, tight end, wide receiver, just about anything on the offense. He's the kind of guy that you have to account for. And not only that, not only can he do all those things, but like Derwin James, the only way that it works is if he can do all those things well and makes opposing defenses respect that he can do all those certain things. Otherwise, you're not going to worry about it when he's lining up in an unnatural position. So it'll be a unique test. We'll see just how sharp Florida State's defense has remained in the wake of that Alabama game. It's going to be a different type of scenario for them, and it's something that they might not have to see again this year. So certainly not an easy game. Florida State's definitely not easing its way back into the season. There's going to be some challenges. That team is really good. I know they lost to South Carolina in the first game of the season, but have since bounced back. And coming in here having they're in their midseason form. They've played. This will be their 4th game of the year. Confident knowing that they took Florida State down to the wire last year. So yeah, anybody expecting just an easy home opener like you sometimes are used to, I don't think that's going to be the case.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Wolfpack defense led by Brandon Chubb, that front four, one of the best in the ACC. ACC has a ton of great front fours. Wolfpack are one of them. What is there to expect from them and that veteran group?
I think those guys are really good. Like you mentioned, Chubb, I think is probably an NFL player. If you're NC State's defensive coordinator, you're looking at Florida State, the fact that Florida State's going to be starting a freshman quarterback probably jumps out to you, right? So what are you going to try to do? It's not rocket science. They're going to try to bring pressure as much as they can, make James Blackman as uncomfortable as they can, and try to force some turnovers, some mistakes, and take advantage of that with their defense. And look, that's the smart thing to do, so that's what's going to happen. So if you're Florida State, what I want to see is what does the offensive line look like after the Alabama game? I think we all thought they played pretty well, pretty admirably against Alabama. I don't know if NC State's defensive front is quite up to the level that Alabama's was, but it's good enough that if you don't play well, you're going to have some trouble. So you want to see those guys continue to gel, continue to, enjoy that continuity that they've had there. And I'd like to think that these last few weeks have been maybe more beneficial for the offensive line than anybody else in terms of continuing to get comfortable, continuing to work that front 5 rotation that they've settled into. So we'll see. It's a difficult test both on offense and defense, I think, for Florida State. It's one that I think certainly absolutely Florida State can expect to win the game at Doak Campbell Stadium. But if they don't do the things they need to, it's not going to be easy.
There you have it, Seminole fans. It's the Noles and the Wolfpack, noon on Saturday. We'll have much more this week in preparations for that game. Tim will have his First and 10 column on Friday. It's always a must read to get ready for the game, and you'll have much more during the week as well. And then we'll have our game preview on Friday, 3 keys on Saturday as the Noles take on NC State at noon right here in Doak Campbell Stadium. It's the home opener. Get excited, Seminole fans. It's finally time for some Florida State football. So for Tim, I'm Lane. Go Noles.